Welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk with yours truly, Stero Lion and Big Chief. And today we're going to get into the fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good by the ICE agent on January 7th, 2026, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, this unfortunate event took place in front of several witnesses who happened to be filming from several different angles. The video footage is floating around social media, as I'm sure all of you have seen. But yeah, we're going to get into that and, you know, discuss what your thoughts are. So, like I said, on January 7th, 37-year-old U.S. citizen was fatally shot by an immigration and customs enforcement agent. And that individual who took her life was named Jonathan Ross. Okay? He has been in a similar incident where he was dragged by a vehicle in which he had to undergo treatment for his injuries.
Mhm.
But, this whole thing is kind of diabolical because, first of all, she's a U.S. citizen. She's a mother. She doesn't
Yeah,
have any criminal history. Okay? So, from the angle that I looked at the video, it appeared that she was trying to drive away from the officer, not run him over.
hmm
But there are individuals in support of the immigration and customs enforcement that have a different narrative.
yeah,
So, you know, at the end of the day, we hope justice will prevail as far as this innocent citizen losing her life to the ICE agency. I mean, they
yeah.
seem to be getting a bad rap nationwide just as
Nationwide,
far as
yeah.
their tactics in terms of
hmm
how they're apprehending people and going about, you know, taking suspects into custody. And this one happened to be most unfortunate because someone lost their life,
Yeah.
and that's never good. So
hmm
I'm gonna give you the floor, Chief. What you saying?
All right. So, thanks, Stero. Now let's flesh this out a little bit. All right. So, what is the rule of force when it comes to pursuing a fleeing car for the Immigration and Custom Enforcement Agency? So, I just want to be very specific, right?
Okay.
So, according to the ICE policy, generally prohibits firing at a fleeing vehicle and in terms of an occupied vehicle, unless those they pose an imminent threat or death or serious bodily harm or injury, right?
Okay.
To an officer or to others, not just the person trying to escape, right? Now, deadly force requires a reasonable belief, right? A reasonable belief of grave danger and no other reasonable means to stop the threat. Now, let's emphasize the risk assessment and prohibiting shooting or solely preventing the person from fleeing, right?
Right.
Or flight. You see, a fight or flight. Now, agents use a risk-based approach. Now, everyone interpretation of this should be, well, I should say it's subjective because some people interpret things differently, right? But if if the agency itself stick to the protocol in general, right?
Okay.
The agent use a risk-based approach, weighing the crime severity, that's one, and the public risk against apprehension in terms of necessity. But deadly force is supposed to be used at the last resort.
Now let me
All
ask
right?
you this: Do you
Yes.
think the officers on scene or Officer Ross was able to deduce the or assess the level of whether it was a serious bodily injury situation in the heat of the moment? Because it all went down so fast, when you're in the
hmm
actual, you know, heat of the moment, one's deductive reasoning process may be brought into question, you know? just in terms of having the appropriate time frame to deduce whether there is appropriate, risk of bodily harm or injury?
Now, adrenaline is flowing, right? Um, it's like being on the. It should not be being on the battlefield because this is not a war. But adrenaline is flowing, it's pumping, right? He had trauma before of being dragged by a so-called suspect before in the past, in which he sustained bodily injury. So he's traumatized and PTSD. And I think that when Renee was basically reversing and trying to make attempt to drive away, right? She turned the wheels not towards the police officer, but away from him. But he was in front of the vehicle. And most agencies, whether it is local or federal, they tell, listen, you don't put yourself in front of a vehicle, a moving vehicle, right? So he was trying to step away, but when he was stepping away, he pulled his gun and started shooting. So it's up to the district attorney, the prosecutors, and or the Department of Justice to flesh this out and make that determination. But it appears from what the city of Minnesota is saying is that they shut down the investigation. And they're basically saying that it was just justified. Now, in essence, right, the rule of about the imminent threat is just not flight in general, right?
Okay.
The vehicle must be used as a weapon against someone for deadly force to be justifiable. Was that justifiable? It's up to the investigator to make that determination based on the investigation. But it appears that the investigation is not going anywhere.
Wow. I'm seeing they charging her with disorderly conduct and labeling her an agitator
and a terrorist, domestic terrorist.
That's, I mean, wow.
Yeah. And so in terms of the act of terrorism, right? Homeland Security Christy Nome labeled her as her driving action as an act of terrorism. And she's sticking by the question and asked her if she wanted, to clarify, and she's not clarifying. She's basically doubling down.
I mean, I get it. They're a team. They have to stick together. They have to show a unified front. And based on the increased violence against law enforcement and agitation against law enforcement in general.
Now, which law enforcement is this? Are we talking about just specifically the ICE and or the Border Patrol, right?
I mean, individuals who are subjected to their patrols and being swept up under their, sweeps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming they're talking about immigration and customs enforcement.
Okay.
Okay, not just like law enforcement, because law enforcement isn't really a boots on the ground organization as far as rounding up individuals for deportation, etc.
Yeah. So, but their argument is that in general, basically, administration is saying that there's been a significant assault, death threats, and or vehicle ramming against ICE agents based on agitators and or domestic terrorists.
I mean, when you squeeze the people or put your boot on their neck,
mm-hmm.
as a direct result of that, they will in turn react/respond.
Yeah.
Now, whether they're reacting/responding in a suitable fashion, who's to say?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's subjective too. It depends on which side of the law you're on.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, though, because the world is watching.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So the local leaders, including the mayor Jacob Frey,
mm-hmm.
he's calling the self defense claim bull. You know what the
Okay.
end of that is, right?
Yeah.
And describe it the shooting as reckless and overuse overreach of powers, and which her death could have been avoidable.
Okay.
So she's an activist, and activists do activist stuff, right?
Right. And
But
I will add that multiple bystanders filming videos suggest that Good's car only was slightly forward with the front wheels pointing away. You understand what
hmm
I'm saying? When raising questions about the self-defense claim.
hmm
So, you know, there's just two sides to every argument. It's all
yeah,
about, producing the facts and being able to tergiversate said facts so
yeah,
that it's not viewed as, conjecture. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yes. So like I said, the mayor and the local authorities saying that um, the Department of Justice, in addition to the government in general, they're expressing that even the FBI is blocked has blocked investigation to access investigative evidence, and is
Wow.
hindering the investigation.
Wow. I
So
mean, there has to be a call for accountability at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
ultimately, somebody lost their life. This is an
correct.
American citizen. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, and I will add, this was a white lady, so it takes away from the narrative of people of color being gunned down
and a
innocently.
citizen, and a citizen.
Most definitely.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was a mother, and so that means her kids are left with no parent. No
hmm
mother, should I say? And
Yes.
this is very, very sad, man. It just goes to show the state of the country that we're living in right now. And as a law enforcement agency, you would think that the community would have a level of trust in them.
hmm
And I think this particular incident has negatively impacted that factor of trust. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because as of right now, ICE is looked at in a most uh, inimical fashion. You
Yes.
understand what I'm saying? In
hmm
terms of their approach, they're taking no prisoners, they're taking lives, and it's just a sad state of affairs, man.
So in context, you're saying that this action of the death of Renee is basically has eroded the public trust.
Most definitely.
Okay.
I mean, if I see ICE agents rolling up in my neighborhood
Yes.
and trying to enforce their way or will upon citizens of my community, I'm going to look at them with a crooked eye like, will this result in somebody losing their life possibly
hmm
because of what happened? So,
Yes.
I mean, that's a valid reason.
Yes. I was thinking the ICE agent was injured during a traffic stop or whatever,
Right?
and he was dragged. And obviously, he sustained trauma, and
Of
I'm quite
course.
sure he had post traumatic stress as well.
Okay.
Do you think that maybe he was put back into the field too soon, and maybe needed therapy, or?
That quite possibly could have
Yeah.
been the scenario. That
hmm
he fully healed or gotten over that past incident that traumatized him, and that
Yeah.
could have very well affected his
His
position and
judgment.
stance and judgment in terms of this situation. So
Yeah.
I mean, will that come into question? Who knows? But
Yeah.
we're here to pose these questions and you know provoke critical thinking amongst the masses and get the overall opinion and consensus of the people as to how they feel.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, as American citizens, they don't want to fear for their life when coming into contact with immigrations and custom enforcement,
Yeah.
whether they're illegal or not. No matter
Yeah.
what your status is, you should not
Hmm.
have to fear for your existence based on the presence of these people. That's
Yeah.
just the bottom line, bro.
Yeah. And I've seen over the period of time in which Americans have been stopped and searched and temporarily detained by ICE and Border Patrol or whatever, inquiring whether or not they're citizens or they're illegal and asking for IDs and stuff like that. This appears to be a little draconian,
Yeah.
Aurelian, or how you say it?
Orwellian.
Orwellian, right?
Yes, yes,
It's
Orwellian.
and it kind of reminds me of back in the days with watching those old World War II movies and all that stuff. They're asking for IDs for people who had passed and all that stuff, from the Jews and even
Yep.
during slavery, ask for pass. You have a pass to leave the plantation, stuff like that. And I also even see even with Rwanda when they had the war, civil war in Rwanda. They stop you on the road, and ask whether or not you're a Hutu or Tutsi and ask you for ID to confirm and stuff like that. And then the ID would tell you which ethnic clan you're with.
I
It's
mean,
crazy. Now it's happening here in the United States, in which they want to know whether or not you're a citizen or you have a green card or you're illegal, by stopping you on the road. And on top of it too, the Supreme Court says okay for that to be done. So it's like they say, now listen to this, Stero. The Supreme Court ruled that they cannot use race, right, as a base to greenlight certain groups to give them favoritism over white Americans or whatever it is, or other ethnic group or whatever, white America, right? Whether it is in schools, in jobs, in contracts, or what have you, right? Listen.
right, I'm listening.
Then they turn around and say, yes, you could use race or what have you, right? To try to identify individuals whether or not they're here illegally or not.
So what you said, I'm a two-month cutlass.
Exactly. Like, come on, man. You get what I'm saying? I just don't get it.
I mean, to be fair, as much as things change,
Yes.
they really do stay the same,
Yes.
Because
it's very contradictory.
Most contradictory. It's almost like, it's not almost like, we are living in a most rebarbative society. You understand what I'm saying? Rebarbative being unpleasant. And, ultimately, even when I'm coming and going every day, I keep my head on a swivel. I make sure I stay within the parameters of the law. You understand what I'm saying? And do what I'm supposed to do, because at any given time, I could be subjected to one of their, random searches or questions. Anybody. Yeah. None of us are above, their tactics. So we all have to be conscientious of that. And, sometimes it's just having a cool head and, being able to speak properly and respectfully, not letting your emotions get the best of you, responding as opposed to reacting to get better results. These are just some of the tools that we as individuals can use to our advantage so that we don't end up in a potential situation like this young lady,
Yes. And then, you have allies or what have you that align with certain communities. Obviously she was an ally and she was against what the government has put in place when it comes to trying to identify so-called undocumented or illegal aliens or what have you. And they consider her an agitator. Now, by her dying, right? Are you of the belief that maybe other allies would think twice of stepping in front of ICE agents and stuff like that?
You know, it just depends on the person, because you have those who have no fear and
Yes,
are willing to die for the cause that they believe in.
yes,
You know, they'd rather stand for something as opposed to fall for anything. At the same
yes,
time, there were those who are like, huh, nope, not me. I'm good.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Because they feel that their life and self preservation is
yeah,
worth more than making a point. So it
yes,
just depends on the individual. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what Renee's standpoint was at this point, I guess we'll never know. You
We'll
know?
never know. Yes,
So
and based on Department of Justice and the FBI shutting down the investigation, or
that's terrible.
no, yeah, very much so.
I mean, it's like, you know, I just have to shake my head, man.
And they don't tell you whether or not this ICE agent, if whether or not if he's still on the front line, or he's cooling out on, on
Desk
unpaid
duty,
leave or on leave,
paid
or
leave.
he's on paid leave.
No, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because they're not saying it. They're not saying much.
I mean, they're keeping the details of this most ambiguous, which is not good, because then it just leads to public speculation, which in turn, you know, gets the people more agitated and
Yes.
more upset. And, you know, like I said, it's the most rebarbative atmosphere. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's the beginning of the new year. We're supposed to be, you know, celebrating and moving forward with plans and
Yeah.
ideas and goals. And here we are talking about the death of an innocent person, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
due to the hands of a law enforcement agency.
So this ICE agent Jonathan Ross. You see, the thing here is that they need to flesh this out. They gotta find out whether or not if he had any incidents like this in the past,
Mm-hmm.
had any aggression
Right?
in the past towards individuals he was arresting. Was there any complaints filed? So all of these things need to be addressed, and all of these things need to be looked into. But obviously, the government is shutting all of this down and not allowing the state of Minnesota, in addition even to the local authorities, to pursue an investigation on this.
Minnesota seems to be a hotbed of activity. Um, just the other day, wasn't Trump talking about the elected official, the Muslim lady,
Mm-hmm.
and in the most, you know,
Ilian, I forgot her name. Yeah,
yeah, I
Ilian.
forgot her name, but he
Yeah,
was speaking in a very derogatory fashion about her, you know,
yes.
and I'm just like, wow. So you got that now. This I even
Oh, and don't.
saw Jesse Ventura,
Mm-hmm.
the former actor slash wrestler politician,
Yes,
come out and say that
and former governor of Minnesota.
yes, former
Mm-hmm.
governor, and he's basically, you know, saying the state of affairs or the state of the country that we're living in right now
Mm-hmm.
is very, very. I forgot the words he used, so I'm not going to misquote him, but he was just like, you know what, I can't believe this, and that was on
Yeah,
social media. You know, I don't know if you saw that or not, but I was like, wow, you
and
know,
uh, uh, and he's a Republican, by the way.
yes,
He's a
yes,
Republican. Yeah. Ilian, who is senator, a Congress lady, excuse me. There's a controversy of Medicaid fraud or what have you in the state of Minnesota, and a lot of the pressures on Waltz, who was the vice president candidate. Um, he's not going to run for re-election because of the controversy, but Trump and the Congress lady, they've been going back and forth for many years, and he says she's a radical socialist or whatever it is. So he's hell bent on pursuing this and going after her. Um, so maybe from what people are saying, hence the reason why they're cracking down and with the immigration matter and trying to get a lot of the Somalians out of the country that are here illegally. You know, it's for us to see what transpire after this, to see whether or not they will be more aggressive after this incident, or maybe they'll fall back and go to another state or another city or whatever until things like cools down.
I mean, ultimately, I'm sure everyone, the general consensus is there should be justice for Renee Good.
Yes.
When it's all said and done, because she's the individual, her kids are left there with no mother. You know what I'm saying? So that's I mean,
and a family need answers, and
exactly.
they're not getting the answers.
So,
and he's supposed to be the Department of Justice is supposed to be protecting so-called American citizen, and this is not being done. I guess maybe they're saying like it's an American citizen. This American citizen made up that she needs to, in terms of aligning with the non-documented community. So it happened, and she put herself in the middle of it, and it happened. So there's no further investigation that needs to be done on the matter.
That's sad, man.
Yes.
But you know what? Stay tuned to Chief and Stero. Like, subscribe, and share. We'll definitely keep you posted and updated as to the ongoing revelations of this particular case. So I want to say enough respect and thank you for your support throughout the years. Keep on being the rock stars you guys are. And until next time, Chief and Stero, we out. Peace.
Thank you. Have a good day, y'all.